Are we ready? Great. Shall we start from the beginning or just carry on from here? Carry on from here, okay. I just want to give you a brief background of the history of MASUP. MASUP has a host of alumni that left their indelible mark in the mining industry, both locally and internationally. There are CEOs, MDs, and chief operating officers of blue-chip mining companies. Names like Dr. Ben Alberts, Dr. Con van Connier, Pieter Steenkamp, Wilco Uys, François Uys, Bernard Swanepoel, Gerard Potgieter, André Joubert, and Pine Pinaar come to mind, just to name a few. They are testament to the quality of education mining engineers get at Pretoria University. They made the mining faculty of Pretoria University proud with their achievements. At the farewell function of the former head of the Department of Mining Engineering, here at the University of Pretoria, Professor Jaco de Villiers Lambrecht in 1977, it was decided to investigate the possibility of establishing a mining alumni society at the University of Pretoria. The team then consisted out of the following graduates: Messias Ben Alberts, JC van Rooyen, Con van Connier, DJ van die Kerk, and Mr. Neil van der Spey, the so-called founding members. Messias van Connier and van die Kerk at this meeting were then tasked with the job to compile a suitable constitution, articles of association, for the proposed society. The meeting at which the proposed MASUP constitution was accepted by the founding members took place on the 21st of November 1977. This constitution was ratified and accepted by the board of the Faculty of Engineering at the University of Pretoria on the 24th of July 1980. I'd like to welcome Dean Professor Maharaj, the Dean of the Faculty of Engineering, Built Environment and Information Technology, to come forward and do the official welcome to the University of Pretoria.
Thank you, Program Director. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, our Honorary Vice President, our President, our honored guest speaker today, our HOD, Professor Ronnie, and colleagues, welcome. Great having you on our campus, and thank you for making time to be here today. I hope you feel safe and comfortable, and please, we request you to please practice the non-pharmaceutical processes so that we all keep our distance and safe, and of course this hand sanitizer is available as well. So on behalf of the Faculty of Engineering, Built Environment and Information Technology, it is my honor to welcome you all to campus. As you know, campus in these days is so pretty much deserted, and to find any human being on this campus is always a great pleasure. And to have you guys here supporting this event and supporting the Department of Mining Engineering, it's even a much more greater and honorable occasion. So on university itself, I think given the current circumstances, as we know, we're living in difficult times. We must say that we have been very fortunate in some sense that we have been using online learning to some extent since 1999. So we have been using online learning in different forms for more than 20 years. So when we had to make the bold transition after 26th of March last year, it was a transition, but it wasn't a mammoth disaster for us because we have been using online learning in a blended form for many years. Our staff were fairly acquainted, but of course there were challenges as well because now you're going from a blended mode to a total online mode. But I must say it was not a major transition, but a transition, and I must say quite confidently and with great honor and pride that our staff have coped very well in doing that, and many innovations have come out of that. So I think those that are studying with us, we're proud to say that we have made sure that we have given our best, and we're giving them just as good in the online learning mode compared to the full contact. But certainly, of course, contact mode is always important and will always be important. I don't think it'll ever disappear, especially in the engineering space where you always have to have lab work, tutorials, discussions, and the interaction among the peers. But I must say, given the difficult circumstances, we have coped very well. And end of last year, we were only one of 4 universities in the country that were able to successfully complete the academic year when we closed shop in December. And for us, that was a great achievement, that having done the exams, having done the supplementary and all that, and when we closed, and for us, that was a great accolade, I think, for our staff members and their commitment and still meeting our obligations in terms of either accreditation or completing the academic year with the same academic quality and the same academic standard. So we're quite proud of that going forward. And also this year, we have been able to take in students for first years, especially our first years, and we met our target in terms of enrollment. So we have done well in that, especially in our faculty. I mean, we have reached our numbers compared to some other universities. Speaking to some of our other colleagues, they haven't quite done that. So I think we at University of Pretoria have been fortunate, and of course, based on our reputation and what we can commit to do and what we do, I think the people have spoken, so to speak, and that's based on the success we had in enrolling our students. I think from the faculty side, I must say with pride and honor that we have done very well over the years. We have improved many things, like I said, not only student numbers, but also in terms of quality. Prof. Ronnie will tell you more about that. For the first time in our history, and what an occasion, in our 60 years in mining and minerals, we are now ranked in the top 50 in the world. 48 we are ranked, and that's a great occasion. In the 60 years we celebrate 40 years, 48th ranked in the world. So that's a great occasion and great success for us in mining, but also in the faculty for engineering and technology. We are ranked in the top 1% now in terms of citations, in terms of based on Clarivate analytics, in terms of the Web of Science, essential science indicators. And if you look at the recent rankings that came out end of last year, it's the 2020 US Global Engineering Schools Ranking Report. We are ranked number 1 in Africa and 277 in the world among more than 15,000 engineering schools. So I think we have done very well in that space. And if you look at the recent 2021 QS, another good big rankings, QS subject rankings, 5 of our subject areas in our faculty are ranked in the world. And so we're very proud of that. We have done very well. And remember, we are a little small country and a little small university in this big planet Earth in the world. And for us to compete with the guys in Europe or in the US or North America and Australia, I think it shows that we can pull our weight. Just like how the mining engineers and the mining captains of industry seated here today are pulling their weight and being competitive globally. So I think through your support, through your involvement, and of course, importantly, for your participation in not only in these meetings here, but also participation in our advisory boards and giving input, that has helped us to take this faculty and take this university forward. And we continuously support and treasure this partnership, because it's only through the partnership that we can work together and take education and technology and our economic strength to, forward. Because without good human skills, as you know, human capital development is critical for any country to be competitive. And universities like us are playing an important aspect in that endeavor. So we treasure that. And thank you, President, for inviting me to be here today. I really appreciate this. And I think MASUP is a great organization. I think it's a role model, not only in this faculty, but I think this university, where alumni can get together, share experience, work together, and work for the greater good, not only for the profession, but for the greater good of humanity, because I think that's what MASUP does at this university, particularly in the different activities. And thank you very much for being here. And we look forward to the continuous engagement with MASUP and, of course, the alumni in different spheres with us and with the university and society at large. And we hope to build on this from strength to strength. And thank you again, and hope you have a very good meeting. And of course, we share and network today as well. And thank you, Mr. President, and I wish you well in your deliberations today. All the best.
Thank you very much, Prof. Maharaj. It's quite inspiring to hear what the university achieved worldwide, and makes you proud to be alumni of this university and what you and your staff had achieved, being big fish in a big pond. I'd like to introduce you now to Mr. Da Costa, Mark Da Costa, to come forward and deliver his keynote address. But I'd first like to read Mr. Da Costa's CV. Mark was born in Johannesburg and grew up on a farm just north of the city. He attended Krugersdorp High School, where he matriculated in 1981. After completing 2 years of military service, he enrolled at the University of Witwatersrand, where he studied for a BSc in mining engineering, graduating in 1988. We'll excuse him for that sin in the past, but anyway. Mike then joined Anglo American in the Gold Division, completed the graduate training program, progressed through the junior management ranks quite quickly, and was appointed section manager in 1994. After completing a full-time MBA at Wits Business School during 2002, Mike joined Anglo American Platinum, where he further advanced his career before moving to Lonmin in 2008. He held various senior positions at Lonmin, last of which was Executive Vice President Technical, where he was responsible for group technical services, capital projects, and international exploration. Mike is currently CEO of Murray & Roberts Mining Platform, a global mining engineering and construction business with a geographical footprint covering 6 continents. He leads a business that employs over 7,000 people and generates an annual revenue of 12 billion rand. Mike is a director of Murray & Roberts Limited and is the board chairman of Murray & Roberts Group, subsidiary companies in Australia, Canada, and South Africa. Mike is married to Stesha, and they have 2 teenage daughters. He is a keen cyclist, enjoys the odd round of golf, and appreciates good food and wine like a true miner. Mr. Da Costa, please.
Thank you, Program Director. Good afternoon to everybody. Thanks for having me join your meeting here this afternoon, particularly given the fact that I come from the university on the other side of the Yexka. So it's really a pleasure for me to be here with you this afternoon. So when Bertie invited me to do this address today, I thought, okay, so what am I going to talk about? After giving it some thought, I decided I'd talk about developments around technology and digitalization in the international mining industry, and how the slow adoption of these technologies into the South African industry is negatively impacting competitiveness. So the title of my address today is "The South African Mining Industry Needs to Transform and Adopt New Technologies if it is to become globally competitive again." There's no arguing that the mining industry in South Africa, and particularly underground mining, has become a lot less competitive over the past 20 years. My address today aims to highlight this plight and to suggest some means of reversing the trend. The industries in the development world, the world that we compete with for capital investment, have moved forward and adopted new, technologically advanced and more efficient ways of working. But the industry in South Africa has not advanced much in the past 20 years. To make matters a little worse, many of us who work in the South African industry don't realize quite how far we've fallen behind. Certainly from my own perspective, I've spent my entire career working in South Africa, And while I realized there were developments going on in the global industry, you know, the sort of information you pick up through reading, attending conferences, seminars, and so on, I did not realize the extent to which this was happening, and also did not realize the full impact of these developments in terms of the significant safety and productivity benefits that they were delivering. It was only when I moved into my current role and where I've had the privilege to gain first-hand and more intimate knowledge and experience of what is happening internationally, that I fully realized how far we have actually fallen behind. To begin with, handheld drilling, which is still commonplace in the South African industry, is basically extinct in the modern global industry and is only used in a few very specific applications. Then, where we do mine with mechanized equipment, the equipment that we're using is not nearly as advanced as that being used by the leading players in the global industry. Technology has advanced rapidly over the past few years, and all indications are that this will continue apace in the years ahead. Some examples of the technologies and practices that are beginning to gain real traction in the international industry are cost-effective high-speed Wi-Fi connectivity underground, LHDs that operate autonomously and by remote control from surface, drill rigs that drill automatically according to pre-programmed drill patterns, also technology that will enable the remote operation of these drills is currently being trialed too. Real-time monitoring of the operating parameters of equipment directly from the onboard management systems, together with real-time condition monitoring of major components, all linking up to the maintenance systems. This will ultimately lead to the evolution of reliability-centered and predictive maintenance systems. Production control systems that gather real-time, accurate information from the underground environment and transmit it to the control room, where the data can be analyzed and information fed back to production personnel so that the right people have the right information available to them at the right time to make the best possible operations decisions. Scanning applications that use LiDAR scanning to scan advancing development ends after every blast to ensure that the excavation dimensions, line, and grade are maintained at all times, thereby reducing rework and the negative consequences associated with it. Real-time capturing of checklists, audits, etc. into a digital database that, with the assistance of artificial intelligence, enables quick analysis of data, which in turn enables proactive action to be initiated, tracked, and closed out quickly. These are just some examples of the applications of mechanization and digitization that we in South Africa are not currently fully exploiting to make our industry more effective. I appreciate that there's currently a significant effort underway to modernize our large conventional underground mines, and some very good work is taking place as far as this is concerned. This work must continue in order to improve safety and efficiency and to maximize the return on capital that has been invested in these operations. I am, however, of the opinion that the successful modernization of these operations will not be sufficient to fully restore the competitiveness of the industry in South Africa. In order to really compete with the modern global industry, a significant transformation of our industry is required. This transformation must, in my view, start with rapid adoption of advanced technology in the areas where we currently do mechanized mining. Additionally, conventional mining should be phased out over time. The current conventional mining operations should be allocated sufficient capital to ensure that they are able to continue to operate as safely and as efficiently as possible until the end of their lives. The largest proportion of capital invested in the industry should, however, be invested into exploring for new ore bodies that can be mined by mechanized means, and any new greenfields investments should be into new, modern, mechanized operations. Such a significant transformation will require real collaboration between the many stakeholders in the industry in order to provide the enabling environment for such a transition to take place. Each of the main stakeholders will have to contribute their fair share in order for it to be a success. So mining operators, particularly those with a global footprint, these operators can be the catalyst for adoption of new technologies in the South African industry by bringing technology that has been developed and used on their operations elsewhere in the world to their operations in South Africa. Mining engineers and technical professionals, so ourselves, they need to ensure that they do what they can to stay abreast of technology developments around the world and take every opportunity to get first-hand knowledge and experience of the latest technology. They must become change agents and ensure that the latest technology is incorporated into designs and execution methodologies for new projects wherever possible. The regulator, they need to create a more accommodating regulatory environment that incentivizes and enables the exploration for new ore bodies. The regulatory environment must also accommodate more innovative thinking and experimentation if a transition to a more mechanized and technologically advanced industry is to be successful. Labor unions, we need to engage labor unions regarding the benefits of adopting mechanized and more technologically advanced mining practices. Benefits such as improved safety, higher skilled and higher paid jobs, and increased longevity of the industry in order to garner their support and assistance with the transition. Education and training institutions, these institutions must keep abreast of the changing skills requirements to support such a transition and must ensure that they adapt their capabilities, curriculums, and training programs to enable the supply of skills that will be required. Equipment and technology OEMs, they must ensure that the necessary sales, technical, and maintenance support structures are properly established within the country and that there is sufficient OEM expertise resident in the country to support the adoption of these new technologies. In this regard, we at Murray & Roberts believe that as a leading underground mining, engineering, and construction contractor with an extensive global footprint, we too are able to act as a catalyst and play an important role in this transformation. We have first-hand experience in the application of many of the latest technologies in our projects around the world, and we have already begun to transfer these to select projects in Southern Africa. We own a controlling share in a small technology company based in Australia that specializes in mining operating technology and automation. They provide operations technology, automation, data acquisition and analysis, and software solutions that enable our project teams to get the best possible performance out of smart machines and applications that are available to the industry. In addition to this, we recognize that a very significant enabler of such a transition is the ability of leaders within the industry to have the capacity and skills to lead such a transition. To this end, we are collaborating with the Mining Engineering Department at the University of Pretoria to enable research into this field and are sponsoring the Murray & Roberts Chair in Industry Leadership 4. As a company with deep roots in the mining, engineering, and construction industry in South Africa, we are committed to play our role in transforming the industry. South Africans are known to be resilient and innovative, and more so when they are being pushed to the edge of the precipice. I'm firmly of the belief that if all stakeholders commit to support a transition along the lines of what I've described here today, the industry will transform over the medium term and will once again become a force to be reckoned with within the global mining industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Da Costa. That was a very good and necessary speech that you've given us. And what I think we got from that was the absolute need to transform to a more mechanized society. But the good news is we have got the capital. We have got the human capital to do it. We just have to apply it correctly. And you use the word resilient. And I think that is what happened. I mean, I've worked on so many mines where they said, it's got another 5 years and we're going to close the mine. 30 years later, the mine is still working. And the same with our industry. People had been saying we're in a sunset industry, but we still get going if we apply things correctly. I'd just like to give you a small gift of appreciation for your speech that you've given us. Thank you very much. The next point on the agenda is the confirmation of the minutes of the AGM of the 26th of May, 2019. A long time ago. We had COVID in between. The confirmation of the minutes of the MASUP AGM meeting of the 26th of May to be confirmed and proposed. Is there any proposer for the minutes? Any secondant for it? Thank you. That's then accepted. The next point we have on the agenda is the presentation of awards and student prizes. And the first one is the MASUP Gold Medal Achievement Award. This award was an initiative by the Mining Alumni Society Executive Committee to honor and recognize the achievements and contributions made by an alumni member to the Department of Mining Engineering and the mining industry as a whole. For many years, this reward was not done, and it was decided to reinstate this great initiative. Many Taki mining alumni have largely contributed to the Department of Mining and in many ways actively involved in shaping the mining industry, not just in South Africa but worldwide. In many cases, the fact that it was indeed Tuks mining alumni went unnoticed. They made South Africa the leading mining district in the world as it was at one stage. The receiver of this Gold Medal Achievement Award for 2021 is Professor Con van Cornier. I'd like to read the CV of Dr. Con van Cornier. Con van Cornier was born in 1947 in Polokwane, South Africa, and has spent his whole career dating back to 1966 in the mining industry. As regards the University of Pretoria, he holds 4 degrees in mining engineering, including his doctorate from this university. In 1999, he received the Laureatus Award from the university in recognition of exceptional achievement and promotion of the interests of the university. Con also has an MBA from the University of Oregon, USA, and completed the Strategic Leadership Program at Templeton College, University of Oxford. In 2004, he received an honorary doctorate in Natural and Agricultural Science from the University of the Free State. In 2004, he also received the South African Boss of the Year Award for his leadership style. Con worked for the Anglo-American Corporation, Gencor Limited, and JCI Limited before joining ISCOR in 1995 as General Manager of Business Development. He joined the board of ISCOR Limited in 1997 and became Managing Director of ISCOR Mining in 1999. With the unbundling of ISCOR into Mining and Steel Company in 2001, Con was appointed Chief Executive of the mining company Kumba Resources Limited. In 2006, Isizwe Mining and the non-iron ore core ore assets of Kumba Resources merged to form Exxaro Resources Limited, and Con was appointed as Chief Executive Officer of the newly formed company. He retired from Exxaro at the end of August 2007. From early 2010 until the merger of Xstrata plc with Glencore International plc in 2013, he served as an independent non-executive director on the board of Xstrata plc, a London-listed international mining house based in Switzerland. From 2013, he served as an independent non-executive director of Exxaro Resources Limited until he retired from the board in 2018. Con served on the Executive Council of the Chamber of Mines of South Africa until November 2006 and was president for the period 2003 to 2005. He is a registered professional engineer and a fellow of the South African Institute of Mining and Metallurgy. He is also a fellow of the South African Academy of Engineering and a trustee of the Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF, South Africa. He considered himself to have been particularly fortunate to have traveled extensively in connection with his profession, his work, and also on private visits, overseas visits in all. He has traveled to many overseas countries, many places on the African continent, and every corner of South Africa. Con enjoys woodworking and wildlife photography and spends as much time as possible in the wilderness areas of South Africa with his wife Beverly, photographing animals, birds and animals. Currently, he's an honorary professor in the Department of Mining Engineering, a member of the department's advisory board, an honorary president and founding member of the Mining Alumni Association, MASUP. He is also a member of the Advisory Council of the Faculty of Engineering, Built Environment and Information Technology. I'm calling on Professor Con from Cornell to come forward and receive and acknowledge and accept his award, and we ask Professor Sunil Maharaj, Dean of EBIT, to come and hand over the gold medal to Professor Fukonia.
He's got his vaccine, so he doesn't.
Thank you very much, Sunil. I've just got a piece of paper here. Don't worry, it's not a long thing. It's just instructions from Ronnie and from my wife. And Ronnie said, please don't talk more than an hour. And my wife says, stick to the script. Don't go telling people about your travels in Africa and that sort of thing. So I'll try and stick to that. But firstly, Professor Maharaj, Ronnie, President of MASUP, and also Mr. Mike da Costa, for a Witsi, you're quite something, and thank you very much for being here today. I really think there's been some very wise words, I think, as we all can attest. And it's all close to our heart, because this is an industry that I think should be doing a lot better than we're doing right now. But it is an industry that has probably helped bring South Africa into the sort of modern economy that it is. I think the trick for the future is just let's stick with a plan that's going to get there, and I think mining can make a much bigger contribution for a long time in this country still to come. MASUP members, Mr. President of MASUP, thank you very much. It is indeed a great honor to what you've done for me today. You know, as a pensioner, you don't often get too many accolades once you're retired. You know, so when it happens on a day like this, it's a bit like Christmas coming in May, you know, so thank you very much for that. And, you know, my wife brought me down to earth 14 years ago when I officially retired from active service in the mining industry, and then went over. I think the boards will be a bit cross with me to say passive service is serving on boards. But my wife said to me 14 years ago, you know, you were CEO, but keep in mind that now you're only O. You know, so he's no O, so many, you know, don't be fancy around the house and think you can order me around. And that still holds today. It's, I think, always an honor to be recognized by your peers in any form and shape. And it's particularly so, you know, when it happens in the mining fraternity for me, with my peers from the mining industry, but also from, you know, this university. And for that, I'm very grateful to you all. You know, it almost feels wrong to accept an accolade like this when it's been for a job that I've thoroughly enjoyed and a job that has provided very well for my family. But I think that's the added bonus. That's the Christmas present I was talking about, so thank you very much for that. MASUP, or MOFUP as we started, is very close to my heart. You know, I was a founding member, and my good friend and colleague Dirk van die Kerk, I think you and I are becoming the outstriders, you know, the old guys in this game, and you know, and I'm sure we're just about the oldest members in the MASUP society. But it is, you know, something that was, I think, visionary by our original Professor Lambrechts to say, well, let's get something like that together, and it was an honor to be there at the start of it. You've heard many people, you know, that names were mentioned, and I'm sure the list can be a lot longer of the role that alumni from this university and from this department have already played in industry, and I think we can all be rightly proud of that. You know, I was talking to Chris Griffith one day, and you know, he's also one of our alumni, and I said to him, when he moved from Kumba Iron Ore, where he had a good success, and he moved back into platinum, I said to him, you know, you've got guts, but if you look at what happened in platinum, he did a great job there, and now he's got the guts to go back to the gold mines. So Chris, you know, good luck with that. But that's the sort of characters that we've bred here in this department. We educated them here, we gave them a foundation on which to work, and I'm very honored that I also had the privilege of coming through this mill in this university that shaped us for our futures. And I also want to add a couple of names there, and not just because he's a friend of mine and a colleague of mine, but Ronnie Weber-Youngman here must be in the same breath as these other guys, not just people in industry. He's done a great job here, as has his predecessors, Andre Fourie, Nielen van der Merwe. It's nice to have homegrown and alumni also being heads of department in this department, and I think they've done very well. I've said to Ronnie on many occasions what he's achieved here at this university in transforming us, not only in the makeup of the student body, but all the technology that he's brought in here. He's had the vision. I think Mike will be quite proud of him with that he's recognized that this is the sort of transformation that we've got to have in the department to be able to achieve what we need to achieve. My association, as you've heard, goes back a long way. 56 years in the industry. It's interesting, and Dirk will, you know, bear this out. We were the first class that started as first years and went right through as mining engineers. There were some graduates before us, but our class started 4 years after the department was created. Before us, the graduates were people that switched from other, like, you know, disciplines like civil engineering and so on into mining. but we were the first, first class that went right through from first year. We started in 1965, and it was interesting times. Those we were 10 in the class, and it was a modest start, but it was a very good start. And I'm privileged to have worked and studied under and worked with all of the heads of the departments here in the mining department, starting with Professor Jaco de Villiers Lambrecht. He was an absolute fantastic person and a real venerable old professor that we were privileged to have started this department, because he laid a good foundation. My other association was I was privileged to be the first honours student the department ever had. And in that particular year that I did my honours in 1969, I was the only student, not alone just the first one, but the only one. And I had the privilege of having one-on-one tutoring, educating, mentoring from the one and only Professor Lambrecht. And I'm very grateful for that to this day. And just for the record, that year we had a 100% pass mark for the honours students. So, Sunil, it can be done. But you've heard my other associations with this university, and I'm very honoured to call myself an alumnus of the university and a member of MASUP. And it's for me quite pleasing, and I only thought about it driving here this morning, that I started my career in mining here, and I stepped down from my last industry board, which was Exaro's Resources Board, about 3 years ago. But my continuing association with mining is through this university. So it's going to be a full circle for me. I started my career in mining here, and I'll probably end my official career in mining at this university. And it is fantastic, and I really appreciate that. All I wanted to say is, from that you can see that I've got a close association with this university that has lasted for a very long time. I'm still honoured that Professor Maharaj and Professor Weber Youngman here thinks I'm still okay to have around on the advisory boards and advisory councils. At some stage they'll probably kick me off, but it's still an honour to be able to serve here. So, all I want to say is, given that association that I've had over the last 56 years with this university, it makes this award you've given me a very, very special one. And I just really want to say again, thank you once to MASUP, to the president of MASUP and all the members. It's been a great privilege to be part of this team, and long may the department and MASUP flourish into the future. So thank you very much, and just maybe by way of commercial, I want to support Professor Maharaj to say, stay safe, wear your mask, keep your social distance, and get vaccinated. We need to beat COVID to death. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Fakonia. It came to me that the longevity and the vibrancy of MASUP is thanks to people like you and other MASUP members who drive this MASUP, this organization that, so many of these sort of social type of things just fall by the wayside over the years. But the energy with which it's being driven by its members, and especially leading people like you, helps it going, and it helps the people, the students, and other members also, for the interaction that we have with each other. So thank you very much for what you've done for MASUP over the years. The next item on the agenda is the student prizes, where we recognize and congratulate our top student achievers in the Department of Mining Engineering. The Sasol Mining Prize for the best first-year student in mining engineering is Edlene Mokwena. Is she coming up there? Yes. The Sasol Mining Prize for the best second-year student in mining engineering is Glenn Matlala. The Association of Mine Managers South Africa Mining Prize for the best second-year student in mining engineering is Glenn Matlala. The Sasol Mining Prize for the best third-year student in mining engineering is Adrian Sibeku. The MASUP Prize for the best third-year geology mining student goes to Ernest Machete. The Walter de Graaf Prize for the best student explosive engineering goes to John Pierre Strydom. That one I can pronounce correctly. It was decided to also make public at our AGM the names of our April-Autumn graduation student prize winners and invite them to the MASUP AGM as well. These students have already received their prizes at the graduation ceremony, but for the knowledge of our MASUP members, we want to recognize these prize winners as well. The following awards had been made at the April virtual graduation in April. April virtual, sorry. The Sasol Mining Prize for the best final year student in mining engineering is Kobeka Kebokulu. The South African National Institute of Rock Engineering for the best mining student in rock engineering is Sishle Buthelezi. The South African National Institute of Rock Engineering for the best mining student in rock mechanics is Sishle Buthelezi. The MASUP Prize for the best mining student mine design in the final year of studies is Priyatan Reddy. I'd like to call upon the President of MASUP, Dr. Bertie Meyer, to present the President's Annual Report 2020 to 2021. Dr. Meyer?
All you get is short, you get, thank you, Mr. Borman. Good afternoon, dear distinguished guests, MASUP members, staff, students. Thank you very much for making the time to attend the annual MASUP AGM. The AGM was not held last year due to a COVID-19 epidemic and the lockdown 5, level 5. So the committee decided to extend the term of the existing committee for another year because of a 60th anniversary celebration of the mining department this year, and they felt that the experienced committee members are required to arrange the presidential dinner for this year that will be held on the 6th of November, 26th of November this year. The pandemic also dampened the MASUP activities last year, but luckily the presidential year-end function was held in November 2020 with a limited amount of guests gathering at the Irene Country Club. So the members enjoyed the social gathering after a long time of no interaction with the outside world when they were locked out 6 or what weeks in our houses. During the presidential year-end function of 2019, a cheque of 50,000 rand was handed over to Prof. Ronnie for the support of needy students. The previous years, that will be in 2018, we used the money to pay for training of students, second-year students in vacation work. Actually, the mine paid for training, we had to pay for accommodation. So that accommodated about 30 of the second-year students that year. So the last Thursday was also affected during lockdown period, but we was restarted after we went to level 1. Attendance after the last 3 or 4 for meeting or gatherings was actually much higher than before the lockdown, because then we were hungry for nice, not seeing the family, just see people other than the family, so it was very nice. And this also was very successful this last Thursday. We had one yesterday, last night as well. And it's there where we get the entrepreneurship, because it's there, because the suppliers and the potential clients meet there, and the information is shared, and the dealings can result from this. And a lot of leadership and technical ideas are also shared during that relaxed times. The agreement for exchange visit between MASUP and STIC in Poland is still in place, but due to lack of interest, the planned visit to Poland for December 2019 was cancelled. But actually, end of the day, afterwards, it was a blessing in disguise, because then COVID breakout came, and then we actually couldn't go there. They couldn't come here, so but it's still in place. Hopefully, after the upliftment of it traveling overseas, we'll contact them again and try another exchange visit, because guys who didn't go there, very, very interesting. We learn a lot, and their cultures, and they treat us, both sides, very well, and they treat us like kings, so. The financial status of the society is also sound, and it will be presented by Mr. Theo Skuman later. MASUP Presidential Golf Day, in collaboration with UP Mining Department, will be held on Friday, the 5th of November 21 at the Pretoria Country Club. And please join us for a fun day. And because the format is also very informal, so it's scrambled, so the American scrambled, so it's we are there just to enjoy it. And then the presidential dinner will be held on Saturday, the 6th of November, if allowed by COVID. If not, we planned not a scaled-down celebration dinner, but it will be, we plan then to move it to March 2022, because we want as many members at the event as possible, because it is our 60th anniversary of a UP Mining Department. Also, I'd like to congratulate the winners of achievements and the keynote speaker, Mr. Mike da Costa and Prof. Honorary President, for receiving a MASUP medal. I'd like also to extend a word of thanks to the MASUP committee for support during the last 2 years and the required perseverance that's required to keep this going. So it's sometimes tough, sometimes not tough, but interesting. And I also like to thank Becky and Thomas for drafting the slides. As you can see, it looks very professional. Also like to thank Esty and Emily from eBay Marketing and assisting with arrangements towards this meeting. Enrico, Johnny, and his assistants from Spatial Media Collective for streaming this meeting, and Atlas for the catering. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. May. Are there any comments or on Dr. May's speech, on his report? Thank you very much for your hard work that you do in keeping this society alive, and all the other members of the MASUP society. We really appreciate the work that you put in your own time to do this, and you've got a day job to do as well. So thank you very much. I'd like to call on the auditor of MASUP, Mr. Theo Skuman, to present the financial report of MASUP for 2020-21. Thank you, Mr. Theo.
Thank you. Just having a quick look at the performance of MASUP for the 2020 financial year. We can see in the statement of financial position that the investments grew by an odd 300,000 which was thanks to available cash that was then invested in the investment bank accounts. That was the first instance of sound accounting. The second highlight is basically looking at the statement of comprehensive income. Let me just get there. So we all know 2020 was a very challenging year with COVID, and even in troublesome times like 2020, the support of the sponsors was 162,000 that came in during the year, which says a lot about the support MASUP have. And then also looking at the expenses, struggling a year, so you can see the guys did very well with the reduction in expenses to ensure that there were cash available for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alex. Are there any comments on the financial statements from the floor? Nothing. Thank you very much for that. And it's proposed that the current auditors, TJJ Skuman auditors, be appointed for the new term as represented by Mr. Theo Skuman. Can I get a proposer, please? Thank you. And a secondment? Thank you. Then we confirm the appointment of TJJ Skuman auditors as auditors for MASUP for the following year. Okay, it's with great pleasure that we can announce that Professor Con van Konia has agreed to be available for another 3-year term as the Honorary President of the Mining Alumni Society of South of the University of Pretoria. Thank you very much, Professor, for that. The nominated committee members are President Dr. Bertie Meyer, Vice President Rian Gilfillian, Treasurer Quentin Botha, and Head of the Department, Professor Ronnie Weber-Youngman. The ordinary members, Benny Burger, Takalani Randima, Dani Lawrence, Ben Brouwer, François Nel, Dani Roos, Johan Estreize, Patu Matsabagina, you can read the name, and Poncho Silote. These are the incumbent members of the MASUP committee. Are there any objections to any of the above members acting for another term in office? Thank you very much for standing, guys. I'd now like to call on Professor Ronnie Weber-Youngman to give a brief overview of current activities within the Department of Mining Engineering.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Professor Mirage, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. I didn't want to get rid of that thing. And also the members from MASUP, Mr. Henry Lars, also welcome. It's always nice to see you. And Prof. Konia, we've got a long history together. He appointed me at HJ Joel as a project mining engineer, I think 1980-something, I can't even remember. And I was very afraid of you. Yeah. So, but it just comes from my Calvinistic background. You respect the senior and the bold So thank you for that. You've played a very significant role in my life. So also thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, just from my side, I was asked to just give a quick overview, and normally with me it's not quick because I've got so much to say that I always don't have enough time to say what I want to say. But I've decided to share with you, and I also see that time is in my favor, so I'm definitely not going to keep it till 3:15. But I know Dani Lawrence has always had a comment about me not getting finished, but that's also another story. Like I said from my presentation, I'm just going to highlight a few issues pertaining to our student numbers, the staff, the research in the department, teaching and learning in terms of the undergraduate and postgraduate, specifically research from an applied research perspective, and then the changes that took place in the department, as well as some concluding comments. And thank you for listening to me this afternoon. I found this from a Nedbank ad many years ago, and I thought it was quite relevant in the context of maybe a tablet or a tablet underground, and it was showing Africa and the technology drive within Africa. And I thought, as from a department perspective, that we are in Africa for Africa, and I thought that was quite relevant in terms of where we're going with all of this. But in saying this, I have to say that in the context of this department, 21 is a very special year for us, and I like to quote it as the department having 60 years of excellence in existence. And I'm very proud to be an alumni of this department as well, because at the end of the day, it shaped my career in many ways. Also, hashtag UP Mining Matters is a serious drive that we started 3 years ago. And the University of Pretoria, I think people never knew how much mining research we actually do, and it was actually not in the mining department specifically. And we just did a quick run at the beginning of the year, and we picked up more than 100 researchers at this university doing actual research in mining, and no one actually knew of them. And when we started doing this hashtag UP Mining Drive, it really came out that mining is actually quite a strong force at this university in terms of not just employment, but research-related activities. We started with this annual review approach 3 years ago, and I think that was one thing that really put us on the map, because at the end of the day, we were really not visible internationally, and at the end of the day, we wanted to show that we are actually a force to be reckoned with. And I must say, I think this annual review that went out electronically to the rest of the world mining schools, and the fact that it was sent out to all our alumni on a continuous basis, I think really enhanced our visibility quite significantly. And obviously, because it's electronic, it's easier to distribute. And obviously, when we have meetings like this, we hand them out as hard copies, because it really emphasized the fact that we wanted to push our visibility to quite an extent. What I'm also proud to say, in 2019, this whole turnaround of being recognized internationally started when we were, by the Web of Science data being used to actually show that for mining and mineral engineering, we were in the top 100 worldwide. And that already then indicated to me that was the first step towards being recognized internationally. And like you've heard earlier this afternoon, when Professor Maraj mentioned it, is that we, for the first time in the history of this department, is internationally recognized being in the top 50 mining schools in the world, and something that I'm very, very proud of, and happy to be part of that and part of this relevation that took place in our department over the last few years. When we look at our vision statement as a department, we've always maintained it's very similar to the vision statement of the University of Pretoria. And all I did, I just replaced it, the University of Pretoria, with the mining engineering department. And obviously, it's all about quality, relevance, and the impact that we make. And also then specifically in our department, the development of people and creating knowledge, and definitely want to make, and actually already do, make a difference locally and globally. In 2007, when I was appointed as the head of department, I did not even know of a society which was called the Society of Mining Professors. And I just realized that at that point in time, because of the fact that we were not very well known from a visible perspective, that we had to join. And I went to Germany in Aachen in 2008, because I was appointed in 2007, and 2008 was my first time that I actually got the opportunity to join this society. I was very fortunate to be appointed the president of this society, and they came to South Africa and they visited Wits University and ourselves, me being the president for that society. And I think I know that was in 2014. And I really think that was the turnaround in terms of our visibility internationally. And I can proudly say that all my staff members in the department are now members of the Society of Mining Professors internationally, and it's opened many, many doors for us, not just from a visibility perspective, but in terms of our external examiners' profiles that we started picking up worldwide. Now, what I decided to show you there is that the Society of Mining Professors started off as a German initiative many, many years ago. As a matter of fact, more than 100 years ago. And then it died after the World Wars, and it was actually reinstated later. And I think it was reinstated later, almost 30 years ago. And if you can see there, that's already 280 members active at the society. And I think the one thing that I do think is quite important to note is that there's 46 countries that form part of this society, and that the total number of universities from a mining perspective is 118 universities. And we are being seen as one of the partners of this society in terms of our contributions. And many of our members already have made contributions, specifically Dr. Meyer, Dr. Ace, and myself as well, as part of our visibility drive in that environment. I'm not going to talk about the 5 strategic goals, but it also aligns itself with the goals from the University of Pretoria specifically. And it's basically also to say that we want to be a leading research-intensive department, and you'll see some of the slides I'm going to share with you that I really think that we've pursued it, and I think in many ways we're already on the right track to get that going. Also pursue ourselves in terms of excellence in teaching and learning, and also the new technology in terms of immersive technology for teaching and learning, and bringing on board immersive technology as part of our strategy. Then to be recognized continuously for the quality of our graduates. We're very proud of that. And at the end of the day, we also at graduation give them that pin that says that's our stamp of approval as part of our department. And then I think one of the key things that we had as our strategic goal when I started this HOD in 2008 was really to strengthen the department's national and international profile. And I think the fact that we have got now sustainable business and other relationships going, I think it's actually put us on the map in a big way. And then the last one, which I can really thank the alumni from this department, all the chairs, all the research funding, everything that I've got from this, for my department was really all from alumni from this department. And I can only say that in many ways, if it wasn't for the contribution and the funding that I got from my alumni colleagues in industry, then obviously it's almost impossible to mention all their names. But they really have enhanced the visibility and also make us a much more sustainable unit in terms of providing our own third stream funding. I think we're one of the only departments at this university, and we followed suit with what's happening at the mining industry in terms of values. We're dealing with the leadership drive at Harmony quite aggressively. We've also got the leadership drive with Marion Roberts. But I think we're one of the few departments that got 5 value systems or 5 values that we drive in the department, which is respect, caring, honesty, integrity, and trust. And we drive those quite significantly in the department because we say to our students that all relates to industry and also relates to the academic environment that they're living in. And when you hear the word T's and C's apply, you always think terms and conditions, which is prohibiting you from taking, getting involved with whatever product's being advertised. And I've already started getting all of the Harmony guys not to think terms and conditions, but maybe think trust and care, which is literally the basis of heartfelt leadership. And I've always said to my students, they can never trust, and you can never get someone to trust you unless they can see that you actually care. With regards to the mining engineering curriculum, at the advisory board meeting in 2019, we decided, the Mining Advisory Board, it was suggested by the board that we should not necessarily start with new modules or new subject matter, but we rather should look at our own curriculum and actually then enhance the specific content within the curriculum and actually make it suit fit for the activities within the department and for our students. And then also, from another perspective, we also said that the mining department should realign itself in terms of industry challenges, in terms of social and economic challenges now and also for the future. So it's more of a socio-technical type of environment that we are in now, and rather than not just technical. And I'd like to share with you guys something that's quite dear to my heart, is the skills that we're going to have needed, or that we will have to have for our students, developed in many ways, and also once they've left the university, in terms of surviving or thriving in this fourth industrial revolution, is that if you look at the World Economic Forum study that they did early in 2015, the top three skills that was highlighted was the complex problem solving, coordinating with others, and the third one was people management, and you could actually add leadership as a component of that. And within 5 years, it changed completely to still stay in complex problem solving, but look what happened. Suddenly critical thinking jumped up onto spot number 2, and creativity and right brain thinking is becoming now more and more important. And I think the most important part, if you had to go look at all of those points, all 10 those skills, that there's not a lot of real technical skills highlighted in that context, but it doesn't mean that it's not important. And in our department, we are driving this now, that in the context of our delivery from the academic perspective, that we address those skills also accordingly. So let me share with you some 60 years graduate numbers. I was actually smiling when Professor Fukonia was mentioning his first year date and everything. When I drew up this presentation, I picked up all the statistics from 1965, as a matter of fact from 61, and just to enlighten your day, there was 25 other students in the first 4 years from other departments that all graduated. So it was actually, I think it was quite well done from that first years of existence, but you're quite right, 65 was the very first year group of which you were part of, and Dirk as well. But it's actually showed quite nicely in my statistics. And I want to share with you this graph. What is quite important, if you look at it, this is the mining graduates from 1964 to 2000. Now the 64 was the first group, the 1, 2, 3, 4 is the guys from mining and from civil and so forth. I must imagine also maybe mechanical. But this is the slide that's broken it up into decades, from the first 10 years to the last, in other words, the 60 years, the sixth decade. And you can see the significant growth in terms of our undergraduate or the mining graduates over that 60-year period, and with the most significant jump in the last 10 years of existence. We've had an industry, let's call it a drop down in terms of commodity and everything, and that has really had, in terms of prices and so forth, it really had an influence on the number of students. And the one thing that we're really struggling at this point is to really implicate or make that mining is a much more sexier environment than people most probably think. And the idea of this whole immersive training and immersive technology, robotics, automation, I believe is the key to get more students involved with mining as a career, or mining engineering then specifically as a career. The next slide I want to show you, and I think Professor Fukonia, being the first honors degree student, 100% pass rate, was quite sharp. I really enjoyed that one. The mining department, and I say this with all due respect, even in my time when I was here, was not really prominent involved in postgraduate numbers, postgraduate students, postgraduate research, and it was really something that I think only in the late 90s, early 2000s started becoming an important aspect of this department to drive. And when I drew up this the slide with regards to the total number of undergraduate and postgraduate graduation numbers over the 60 years, you can see that it was really from a postgraduate perspective, and that postgraduate means it's also masters, honors, and postgraduate students. also in a 10-year bracket space, but you can see there was a much more significant increase in terms of undergraduate graduates, and also slowly but surely only from about the 30th year of existence that we started providing industry with more people involved with postgraduate studies. And I must say that it's already being pushed quite hard in our department to increase our student numbers. And the way we played with this is that because our student numbers started reducing the undergraduate numbers, we made a strategic decision to sustain the numbers that we currently have, around about 120 students in the 4 years of study, and that we would push the postgraduate numbers, that we want to push it to at least 80. So that would then give us almost a two-third split, where a third of the new knowledge development happens in the postgraduate space and the application of those new knowledge then happens in the undergraduate space. And I think that was quite an important decision, because at the end of the day, and I'll show you some other numbers just in the next few slides, it really enhanced our visibility in terms of capacity building and capability in terms of research in the industry. And I think that's something that I'm very proud of. We also started with this process of full-time postgraduate students. It's also quite nice to know that this year, 2021, also is the highest number of full-time postgraduate students being sponsored through the research chairs that we have, as well as funding from the likes of ASMANG, the arm leg, that's actually sponsoring 4 of our postgraduate students in a postgraduate environment. We have 9 students full-time in terms of master's engineering, 2 honors degrees and 1 PhD full-time. And why I'm so proud of that is that when we started with these high student numbers in the early 2010s, we had to have support from our assistant lecturer's perspective, and we actually got these guys going in this process, being supportive of what we're doing. And I think the nice thing about what we've done is that those are the next generation of academics. Before, we never had that pipeline of potential academics in the past, and we were also running around with people with no higher qualifications, and that actually is now, in the university sense nowadays, you cannot be appointed as a senior lecturer unless you've got at least a PhD. And that also is a restriction in terms of if we did not have a pipeline. So I'm very happy that we had that pipeline. So what is the actual successes that we've had? I've mentioned that this now, the largest number of full-time postgraduate students, the largest number of postgraduate graduates ever. There were 13 of them in the April graduation ceremony, which I'm very proud of, because 3 of them were master's degree students and 10 of them were the honors degrees. And incidentally, all 10 of those honors degree students are actually now registered for master's degrees full-time in the department. And I think at the end of the day, the fact that we've changed our emphasis to our postgraduate environment for our future careers, academic careers for our students, was the right decision. And then also between 2020 and 21, we've always also had the largest number of postgraduate students, namely an average of 56 over the 2 years, which is almost the same number of the intake in the late 1960s for the undergraduate program. So I'm very happy to see that we're actually pushing this postgraduate space the way we've been doing it. Then just with regards to staff-related matters that we have, we've always been a very small department. We only have 9 people on staff, of which 7 as lecturers, 1 position is still vacant. And then at the end of the day also, we've only have the 2 positions from an administrative perspective, which is the secretary and then also our messenger in the department. And this makes us quite vulnerable, because at the end of the day, we have some people going on pension within the next 2 or 3 years, which means that the pipeline will definitely kick into play in terms of our new academic blood for the department. And then I'm glad to say that we've had our first NRF researcher rated by the NRF, Professor Malan. I know that Nilan van der Merwe also was an NRF-rated lecturer. I think he was an A-rated, if I'm talking under correction. But getting Professor Malan on board as one of our very first, in my time, NRF-rated research has actually enhanced our ability in terms of rock engineering skills and enhancing the whole rock engineering environment within the department. Then also we have the honorary and extraordinary professors. I must say that in terms of the appointment, unless there was an appointment and was needed within a research chair environment, these people normally appointed at no remuneration, which means that they do it for free and that they actually help a lot within the actual academic research environment and also the postgraduate specifically. So they don't have actual lecturing functions, but they do research. And Professor Napier is working in the Harmony Chair for numerical modeling. Professor Spiteri is appointed in the AECI Chair with innovative rock breaking. And then at the end of the day, if we did not have them on board, obviously the capacity in terms of research would not have been as much as we already have it. When I took over the department in 2007, we were 9 people in the department, and it's still the 9 people, which is the full-time university appointments that we actually get paid for by the university itself. And what then happened was, in terms of the growth of numbers, I then went out to see how can we actually enhance this whole learning experience for our students by appointing additional people in this context that I'm showing now. And what we have now is, with the research chairs that we started appointed in the department, the very first chair was the Sassel chair in safety, which concluded 2 terms of 3 years and has actually set the road for us in terms of new research chairs for the future. And obviously I've mentioned the Harmony Chair in terms of the chair in numerical modeling and rock engineering, the AECI Chair, and then Dr. Johan Eise, myself, being part of the Murray and Roberts Chair in Industry 4.0 Leadership. We also make use of not extraordinary, just lecturers on a contract basis in the postgraduate environment. We don't use any contract lecturers in the undergraduate environment in terms of this ruling that we have. And we've got the contract in support staff that's also involved with the chair, finances, and so forth. And this is, I think, one of the success stories of the department, which I've highlighted before. They all registered for their masters in the 2 gentlemen on the right-hand side. They're the 2 honours degree students, and the other 8 are all being registered for their master's degrees. And I think at least half of them already indicated that they would like to pursue a PhD in the actual field that they've selected. So what am I saying? We've got 31 staff members on the books, which could still have been 9 if we didn't have this view that we need to expand and that we need to grow whatever we have. And this numbers that I'm showing there in the picture would not have been possible unless the alumni of this university, mining specifically, supported us with the chairs and also supported us with funding and donations to actually make these positions available. And the good thing about what we did is, like I said all along, is the capacity building and also capability over the period. So why am I showing this, ladies? We've actually had a very important decision made 10 years ago that the elephant in the room with regards not passing your degree was English. And we actually then appointed Isabella Swart first time, I think it was in 2012. And we started with this English literacy program. It was also sponsored by the industry, and in a later stage, it was actually the METF that started giving us funding for this because they saw the light in the context of what we were doing. We now have an English literate person, an English, I call them my school teachers. They're in the department. Each of them has a year group, and they actually work with the lecturers in terms of English literacy from a first to final year perspective. And in the final year, they're very much involved with Isabella, dealing with the dissertation English literacy as well as the importance of having a good written up document. And I do believe that that will be a definite game changer for our graduates in the future. The reason why we did this is literally because Afrikaans or English first language is now only about 7% of the student body, which means that 93% of the students are actually being taught in their second language. And one of the key issues that we picked up in this whole testing and everything that we did for the students, because we do a lot of psychometric assessments, and we call it the ELSA test, which is the English Literacy Skills Assessment, and we find out quickly where the problem is. And incidentally, it was proven that one of the key problems that our students sit with is comprehension. They don't always understand what they read. And if you don't understand what you read, then it's very difficult to actually then apply that knowledge. And I think that was a very important part of an initiative that we really wanted to pursue quite aggressively, and we've actually stuck with that over the last 10 years almost. Then also the non-technical skills drive within the department. One of the key things that we very soon realized, and that was also about 10 years ago, that our students go out of varsity with a technical basis, but they don't have a real feel for the soft skills or the non-technical skills. And at first it was the Sasol Engineering Academy, but it started off as a leadership academy for our final year students so that we could actually teach them all of these initiatives such as emotional intelligence, conflict management, understanding their own personalities and things like that. And we were very fortunate last year when Marion Roberts started the chair in Industry Leadership 4.0. We've actually branded the Mining Engineering Leadership Academy as the Marion Roberts Mining Engineering Leadership Academy. And Henry, I would like to thank you for that initiative to be part of our Leadership Academy in that sense. Much appreciated. Then the other thing that I think the department, which relates very much to your career as a mining engineer and a manager one day, is the student well-being or your people well-being within your department or within your section. And I can say that even this year we paid for a lady that had no accommodation. We paid for students that don't have food. We've actually given them meal cards that they're not being embarrassed. So, and I think the nice thing about it, making available their support needs within the department, and it's very well done, very discreetly, and no one knows who the people are that gets the support. And we do get money from MASUP that has helped us with this. And every time a student approached us, I just always thought, yes, it must be quite an embarrassing thing to approach your lecturer and say, I can't perform because I don't have food. And the department took that up on themselves, that to stop that need by actually making funding available for the students. And incidentally, when you speak to the students, they'd never know who actually got the support, but they know that there's support being given. And I think that's the nice part about our job, is to uplift and help these students with needy cases. And Mr. Da Costa, Mike, yes, I'm so happy that we got to know each other better. Last year he came to our Marion Roberts Leadership Academy Day, as a welcome note for the students. As in this is before the mine design, we divide the students, and Dr. Ace is in charge of that. We divide them into different groups by taking into consideration their disc profiles, their curses, and all of those, and we put them in groups that they are evenly balanced in terms of their capabilities within that group. And since we started doing that, we did start finding out that the work that's being done in groups are less argumentative, if I can put it that way. But I always say to the students, when they start fighting, I get very excited because I like it. Because then I know they're starting getting into the mining environment. And we actually had them yesterday. We spoke yesterday about their profiles. And we will now set them up in groups. And when they go to this team building, before COVID, we took them away for a weekend. And we actually then helped them to understand the value of good teamwork as part of the whole mine design. Research initiatives, you saw on the board here, the Mining Resilience Research Center has been established as a multidisciplinary, interfaculty, interdepartmental research unit, where you see the axis is the MRRC. All the faculties are involved with that, and what we do with that now is to enhance our availability as an important factor in the rest of the university as well. I'm not going to talk about the actual, let's say, the vision of the Mining Resilience Research Center, but you can see in red, it's all about getting the mining industry from being reactive to be resilient in issues of safety, health, environment, and also then in terms of social responsibility and community management. The projects in the MRRC, that's all with the Mine Health and Safety Council. I'm not going to talk about those. It's just an indication to you that already the rock engineering is playing a very significant role in the Mine Health and Safety Council, as well as Samardi, which is on the Mandela Mining Precinct. If I look at the industry-related chairs, we're in negotiations with the AECI with regards to the continuation of the chair. We actually got to a bit of a stumble block with regards to contracting, but they've confirmed with us that once the contractual issues have been sorted, that we will reinstate that chair that has been running for the last 3 years. The Harmony chair is now actually being involved. Peter Steenkamp is the CEO. Is in its third term of 3 years, so it's basically the end of next year. They would have been with us for 9 years, and it's been really supportive in terms of our work that we do. Then Marion Roberts' chair, it's in its second year, and obviously we've highlighted a lot of good things, and we've already did 2 research projects that we actually used from a Marion Roberts perspective, and I spoke to Mike this morning. We're going to have a session with the senior managers at Marion Roberts about the risk profiling that we did and how we can actually enhance the whole adoption to technology as well as improving of safety, specifically for Marion Roberts then, but also use that as a sort of base case going into other industries as well. And then also the Exaro chair has been established as from the 1st of this year. The main driver of this chair is the Department of Information Science. We are the co-partners with this chair. Like we were the main driver for the AECI chair in collaboration with the electric and electronic computer engineering at this university. And I think the collaboration efforts between 2 departments, and even sometimes 3, is going to become more and more important in terms of our interdisciplinary research drive within the department. Then another important point that I wanted to highlight is that we were very fortunate. We proposed to the South African Mining Extraction Research Development and Innovation, SAMARDI, which is at the Mandela Precinct, the MMP, we call it. They've actually opened the proposals for us that we could propose for a research center at our university. The 3 mining departments, UJ, WITS, and Tukkies, they put in proposals for these various focus areas, and we were then awarded the Mechanized Mining Systems Research Center, and it will be called the Samardi Mechanized Mining System, or Samardi Research Center for Mechanized Mining Systems. And on that list, you can see the successful application of technology was proposed by WITS. They got that one. Longevity of the current mines is then was also proposed by UJ, and obviously they will get that. And then UJ and UP, because of our virtual reality, our augmented reality, and our capability in terms of visualization with us and UJ, that will now be formalized in future as well. But UJ, I know, is very, very keen to collaborate with us in terms of drones and everything that's related to visualization from a 3D perspective. And then obviously WITS also got the project or the research center pertaining to real-time information systems. I'm not going to read through the publications. That was 2019. We had a bit of a hiccup in 2020 because of the no conferences possible, so that had a big influence on our publications. We've actually got a very, very strong pipeline for this year, and I can actually say to the Dean that I think by end of this year we'll have the highest number we've ever had because of the pipeline already being filled. And that's all the conferences from 2019, but like I said, last year was quite sad because we could not present anything. I'm almost done. I'm not going to talk about this, but Professor Fokonier alluded to this 2 years ago, the mine closure and rehabilitation. In future, we're going to close more mines than we're going to open them. And if we don't have the skills and the knowledge base from a mine closure rehabilitation perspective, we're going to have problems. And all of those are relating to the lecturers within the department in terms of their research drives. It's also quite nice to know that the blasting engineering and the surface mining excellence are being run by staff members, but the surface mining excellence one is being run by 2 alumni from Exaro and also Anglo-American, Henk Fourie and Johan Hager, and it's a very popular course. It's running at about 58 members already per year doing that course, especially for people that never had surface mining exposure. And then when I say to the students we're going to talk about marine mining and asteroid mining within the future, they think I'm smoking something, but Elon Musk is already showing that he wants to go for the biggest asteroid, and because in the sky everything is everybody's. I want to show you just 3 small videos. I'm not going to show them full out. The department made a very important strategic decision that interactive immersive technology would be the key of future training. And when I first heard that you need to use gamification technology to in a non-gamification environment, I thought, well, this is not possible, you know. And now we've actually proven that with Xboxes and headsets and things like that, that immersive technology use could enhance the learning experience asymptotically in terms of where we want to get guys in a short period of time. And we've already started developing some of these interactions. In my department, Yanni Maritz is quite involved with this. And Yanni, may I say this? 4 years ago, Yanni said to me, he doesn't want to have anything to do with VR. And now I can say, Yanni, thank you for that thinking change, because Yanni, in a big way, I'm not trying to embarrass you, Yanni. I think sometimes when you're at that point, you know, nah, it's not going to work. And I'm so proud to say that when I listened to him the other day in terms of his PhD, that the interactive immersive technology is going to form part of that PhD of how you educate in a rock engineering environment. So I really want to show you just some of the products that we already developed. And like I said, it's 20 seconds I'm going to show each. The first one is about hazard identification in a surface mine, and you'll see the hands or the clickers. What do you call these things, Jan? The controllers. You see, my son is better on me than I myself. Now, if you look at this video, there's the controllers. You see it's a site visit. The guy's got the headset on, and it can actually then swing around while there's people there. And you'll see at some point there's a transponder. It transponds to a highway or a high wall, and you will see, and I'm just going to show it when they do that they will highlight it, and then you will be able to calculate volumes and so forth based on that visual that they show there. And like I said, that could become something quite worthwhile in the future in terms of using it as an augmented reality virtual space. The next video is a MMU truck from an explosives perspective. You'll see there's a tablet, and the tablet that the people have is a virtual tablet, and that you can punch in your student number. You can do the actual or the actual investigation around the truck. Like I said, this is a training environment. We're actually looking at, I think there's 2 companies at this stage that approached us that said we must help them in their training centers, because I've always maintained a university is for education, not necessarily training. But the fact that we're already developing this from a training perspective for the industry is quite handy to know. And like I said, you can see there's a transponder, and you can move around the truck, you can identify mistakes, and at the end you get a mark out of whatever, and it can deem you be competent or not because you've missed out on some of the aspects pertaining to that. And then the last one is also, I'm not going to show the whole one, it's a rock engineering one, where you can see the hand that's waving. It's doing exactly what the robot is doing. And at the end of the day, it's also in a small space that you do all the activities so that you could see the various hazards from a rock engineering perspective, and also being assessed continuously and automatically while you're doing that. And if you look at this is really gamification at play, and you just actually have to do that and to take part of that. The METF has made available a lot of capital specifically for the ventilation enhancement. You can see all of the equipment that is actually now in our arm room. And the sad thing about it is that only the postgraduates had the privilege to work on it, because the students have never been on campus the whole of last year. And all of this equipment is aimed at the 3rd and 4th year ventilation course. So in conclusion, UP mining matters, definitely. I have no doubt that it will grow even further at this university. Our ranking drive and the increase in our research publications is obviously a key objective for the next 5 years, and next year is our X accreditation, which obviously we will also do well. Then obviously very proud of our world rankings. I think with everything that we do, we want to push it even further and get to the top 20 in the world, and I don't think that's impossible. Then also the academic ranking that we got credit for in 2019, very dear to our hearts. And then the department is obviously now boasting with world-class facilities. I mean, even the VR center with the cylinder and also the theater has been very well exposed in industry, and a lot of people make use of that facility to come and do some of the work that they want to do. Then also the industry support, alumni specifically, very well supported, and I expect that to be continued. The non-technical skills with the management and leadership, which is now part of the mine design also, we said that it'll further enhance our students' capability. The English competency, definitely I think will not stop, well at least not while I'm still there. And then also the MRRC, which I think from a third stream potential income is quite important for us. Then bursaries and white student numbers, quite a concern. Only about 30% of our students have bursaries. And I think in the old days, students came to varsity, all of them had bursaries. And also from a white student numbers perspective, I think we only have 10 students of 123 that are white students at this stage. And it's quite incidentally that when I took over as HOD, it was all white students. Then I went into 50-50, and I think now at that time we said we must increase our black students, our HTSA students, and now I'm saying let's increase the white student population as well. To have that demographic mix, we've always been very proud of, and I think we need to work on that from a marketing perspective. The Mining Engineering South Africa initiative, that's the 4 mining universities. I'm the current chairperson, and I think all the initiatives that has happened at Samardi and the Mandela Mining Precincts is because we worked as a group and we were not opposing each other's work of doing, and we looked at where the skills were actually lying from a university to university perspective. And then the low student numbers in the first year, obviously a concern, but this year, I've checked the last numbers, Prof, it's now 31 first years. And the year before it was only 20. So I think our marketing drive has actually did pay dividends, and I would imagine we will just keep going and it'll be as good as I think we can have it. And then this slogan of ours, educating and leading our mining students to become Imagineers, remains a focus area and a real drive towards an area of our drive towards our students. And then obviously I can't say enough about virtual reality and the mining educational strategies, resulting obviously to the better understanding of complexities in the mining education applications. And then the interactive immersive technology, I believe in future, is going to play a significant role because we're a visual nation. The students don't want to read books anymore. You've got to involve them visually in terms of what they're doing. And then obviously industry chairs and support will always remain very important in this department. Lastly, I want to acknowledge the support that I get from the Dean and the faculty, Professor Maraj, MASUP, the industry through donations and chair funding support, the METF for capital funding for equipment, and then my staff and students, and then obviously my family at home as well, because many hours, many weekends, I just work, and then they don't even get half upset with me. So for my family at home, I'd like to thank them as well. And in conclusion, thank you for being here today. It's really been nice having this. This was an experiment for us. It worked very, very well. And Bertie, congratulations. I think it came out all well done, and I'm very proud to be associated. Thank you very much.
You've been such a driving force, Ronnie, ever since you got here. And the excellence in training, which is the fundamental drive right through everything you do. The main thing is to be relevant in the industry. Whatever you do, be relevant. And as Mike had said, we have to be both enablers and catalysts for change, to mechanize mining, to become competitive worldwide. And everything you said here and done is geared towards that, geared towards success, and enable the students to be successful. And I congratulate you really on on what you guys are doing here, and Professor Maharaj at the university. So thank you very much. I'd like to call on Dr. Bertie Meyer to discuss student memberships. Is this now for the MASUP student memberships? And then if you don't mind, just to carry on with your vote of thanks for the day.
Thank you very much. Just the issue was raised from one of the members on the way we automatically include our final year students into MASUP. And from the committee side, we decided to change that ruling on the automatic inclusion of final year students into MASUP. But must happen that our students must apply for MASUP membership. And after they're successful, then they will get an invitation and a gift to the annual presidential dinner. Because that's very important. This will ensure that continuous involvement of young graduates into MASUP activities. Because what happened is they attended the 50 attended the final year presidential dinner, and then you don't see them after 7 years. We didn't see any of them. So that's important for us. The guys then join MASUP formally, and then we want them to become active. I realized that actually, when I worked on the mines as well, didn't attend nothing of this because you were too busy, and only the Pretoria people are most involved in this. So students are getting a lot of guys are going now to the Northern Cape, so it's actually difficult to attend activities at Pretoria, but they can. We still to keep contact with us. And just like to vote of thanks for keynote speaker Mike Da Costa. Thank you very much. Brilliant presentation. We learned a lot. So look back, three fingers pointing back to us. And as a mining expert in underground mining, you know, I have to change my old styles as well, and we'll definitely push on that. Luckily I said, you know, our older people, difficult to change, but last 7 years that I'm lecturing here, that's what I push to the students, and they will be actually the change media for this operation. So, like went to mines as well. We worked, you know, general manager, new idea, says, why must I change? I'm going on pension in 2 years' time, you know, so why must I actually settle this wild horse? So let somebody else come and do that, you know. So, but it's important, I told the students every time, is we have to change, you know, otherwise we will not survive, especially this labor costs, actually hard work for laborers, and then the high cost of that, you know, is actually killing with mining. And then, so Prof. Maharaj, thank you very much for spending again time with us. Much appreciated. And Prof. Connier, the Honorary President, thank you very much for being here as well. And congratulations on your medal. I hope you enjoy that. And then I'd also like to thank the engineering staff members from faculty, and then also the fellow alumni members. Just like to call Abia for a gift. Thanks for your hard work, and that you helped me last week. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Meyer, for this point.
There's no point general on the agenda, but I'd like to raise something
Please do. Now. Please come over here.
Can you hear me? Thank you. Sorry for that, but there was something happened this week which suddenly prodded me that I need to ask this question today. Before I do that, may I first say that, when Con and myself and the other members, way back in the 70s, started with this society, we really did not know where this was going. It was an investment and there was no guarantee of what would happen. At the stage, there were 3 such societies at Pretoria University. We understand there was a society for the legal people. I really don't know whether they still exist and whether they're still active. And then the other people, funny enough, because we work with these people every day, were the geologists. And I am not sure whether they are still operating, but I know that they were at the time a very active group. So we investigated the situation of other societies to see what are they doing, how are they doing their work and everything. But the point I'm just trying to make is, at that stage it was really throwing the bread in the water. And what you see here today is an achievement by the by the graduates of this department that has kept this society not just going, but becoming a real fantastic organization for the fellow graduates from this university. I'd like to compliment everybody that has been instrumental in making this happen. Specifically, I would like to say that the steering committees, or the management committees as we called them those days, of the society the last couple of years really must be complimented for their vision, the way that they look after the society, the way they're active, all the initiatives they're busy with, and just the commitment of these people to have this society perform in the way which Professor Lambrecht, together with us when we spoke about this society, that that was they actually doing what was envisaged those many years back. So I'd just like to say that as an introduction to my question. In this week, something happened which prodded me to say, there's been so many things happening since 1977. It was the founding of the society. It was the establishment of this council that you have in the university for Department of Mining Engineering. Then we talk about all the other activities that came up, and all these things happened. And my question here today, and it may be that I'm just not informed as to what the mechanisms are that's available and being used currently, but the things that when we started was a real challenge for us at the time was, for instance, a simple thing like membership list of members. Now, in those days, we didn't have computers. Nowadays, I mean, it's so easy to do this type of thing because we've got the benefits, of the computers, and that can help us. But like a question, how do we set up and maintain our membership list, for instance? And the second thing is, there's like today. I know that there's going to be a minutes written of what happened here. But first suggestion I would like to do is we need to record who were the people that attended here, I mean, over and above the fact that the minutes usually refer to the speakers that were here. Do we actually get the speakers to publish something for us that we can put on record, you know, to say this is what the people actually spoke about at the meeting? I think your address is here a point in case. So my question is there a repository, I don't know whether that's the right word, a repository or a filing system? I mean, we can do this all electronically and whatever. Somewhere that captures and keeps this information available for the future. I'm sitting with a lot of documents in some file that I have at home. It should not be there. It should actually be taken up into this reciprocity or a filing system or a stick with all the information scanned in. I don't think we're going to work with hard copies anymore, but we've got the technology. This is a question to you, Mr. President, and I also may suggest that we on the agenda for the next years, you know, to have at least 2 additional points, if I may. The one is to approve the agenda, and secondly, to allow for a point general for discussions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. van der Kerk, and I'm sure you will get feedback from the MASUP members and the President on this. So in conclusion, are there any other issues that people would like to raise here? No. Okay. Thank you for attending. Thank you for the people that spoke here today. Thank you for the hard work that everybody that put in to make this alumni society of ours so successful. And most of us have got day jobs, so it's a sacrifice to be here. But it's a sacrifice we do gladly. Because if you do not plow back into the industry what you got from it, then you're living with a closed fist, and you cannot receive if you walk around with closed hands. So thank you very much. This concludes then our annual general meeting, and you are all invited for cocktails and some snacks afterwards and to mingle with each other and talk. Thank you very much.